Hello, and welcome back to another chapter. Thank you so much for joining me, uh, and for, as always, your endless patience. I do see you guys in the comments. Long few months. Long few months. But let's get into it. I've got my water, and we've got our book. So, special thank you to all who support. If you'd like to, there's links to do so in the description. But let's jump back in to The Legend of Luke by Brian Jacques, Chapter 37. A lively breeze stopped autumn's first day, starting with a gentle mist. The honeysuckle was positioned just below the brow of the hill, armed with slings and oars, and the crew of their Doonhog allies stood waiting. Fermo tested the wind direction with a damp paw. "Couldn't ask for a fairer breeze, Martin." The warrior signaled to Fulgrim. "Off you go, mate. Don't forget to raise a shout at the right moment." The smallest of the Gaussum shrews was bent double, wearing a cape which Trimp had made for Chugger. He grasped Fulgrim's paw and toddled off over the hilltop with the scarred otter, adopting his old hunched hunting pose. Together they looked like a grandsire and his grandchild. A stringy-looking weasel was arguing with a ferret, disputing over a wooden skewer festooned with insect and moth carcasses, which had been spiked there to roast over the fire. A motley collection of rats and assorted vermin watched them, knowing that a fight was inevitable. As the weasel reached for the skewer, the ferret kicked him.
"Get your dirty paws off of me victuals, long nose."
The weasel was knocked forward, scorching his paw in the flames. He turned, snarling at his tormentor.
"Half of them are mine. Lift your paw to me again, and I'll chop it off, greedy guts."
Like a flash, a broad, evil-looking blade appeared in the ferret's paw. He aimed another kick at the weasel.
"You couldn't chop your way out of Daisy Patch. Back off of those victuals. They're mine."
The weasel shrugged, as if admitting defeat. Picking up the sharpened skewer whose end was on fire, he turned to the ferret.
"Oh, what's a pile of squash bugs to me? You have 'em!"
Bounding forward, he thrust the skewer hard into the ferret's gut. A shriek of agony rang out, and the ferret fell backward, dying, stabbed through the stomach. Callous laughter and coarse remarks greeted the cruel act.
"Something upset his stomach. Hey, old Brango looks just like a bug on that skewer. Look at him wriggle."
A fox who had lost interest in the gruesome spectacle happened to turn and look uphill. He caught sight of the two pitiful figures hobbling side by side.
"Oh, lucky day. Look what's coming this way, mates."
Paws grasped blades as most of the vermin began inching toward the two unfortunate creatures, calling mockingly,
"Come join us for dinner, friends. Or, don't be scared. You'll have naught to be worried about soon. Ain't that right, mates?"
The two creatures halted as if noticing the evil crew for the first time. Slowly they backed off uphill, crying piteously,
"Please don't hurt us. We're only poor travelers."
Speeding up their advance, the vermin began to spread in an arc, trying to cut their quarry off. The poor travelers ran then, scampering uphill and yelling aloud, "Help! Help! Oh, some beast, help!" Pulling a rusty axe from his belt, the fox ran after him.
"I saw him first."
The skinny weasel dashed past him, snarling,
"First there, first serve, brush tail."
As Fulgrim and the Gaussum shrew reached the ridge crest, they were yanked aboard the honeysuckle. Down the hill she thundered, the breeze billowing her sail full out. War cries rang out around the hillside.
"Eulalia! Red Wall! Grumagara!"
The vermin were taken completely by surprise. Denny whacked out with an oar, laying the skinny weasel out cold. Hard round sling stones cracked against skulls, ribs, paws, and tails, filling the air like angry hornets in a swarm. Heedless of the stupidity of their retreat, the vermin fled off downhill with the honeysuckle skimming behind them. Verg caught the fox by his tail and dragged him along, while Bo hung over the side, belaboring him with an oar.
"You thoroughly whack, despicable thwack thwack cad!"
A rat who was tripped by one of the forward oars leaped smartly up, only to be felled by Fermo, who from his position at the stern walloped him over the head. Onward plunged the vermin in their rout, hotly pursued by a skiff on wheels, leaving in its wake a trail of wounded and senseless creatures. Finally, the remnants of the ragtag vermin band broke, running off in separate directions, but not before Dunespike lassoed one. The terrified ferret was dragged aboard. He lay quivering on the deck of the still traveling craft, staring up the fearsome scarred face of Fulgrim. Resting his axe blade between the ferret's eyes, the otter growled in a menacing voice.
I see, I've got your attention, scumbrain. So listen hard. We'll be sailing these regions for the next couple of seasons, hunting down vermin and cleaning up the land. Your lot are the first, ain't you the lucky ones? We're letting you live, so you and your cronies can spread the word round that we've arrived. You see that warrior with the nice, sharp sword? He's our leader. Name of Martin of Redwall, a very fair beast. He believes in giving vermin a sporting chance, then slaying 'em.
Martin prodded the ferret with his blade tip.
Up on your paws, bully. Come on.
Trembling uncontrollably, the ferret rose. The honeysuckle had slowed down minimally, breasting another rise, and then she picked up speed, skimming downhill. Martin swung his sword up high.
Jump or die!
Yeah! With a pitiful wail, the ferret flung himself overboard. They watched him bounce and spin as he rolled downhill until a rock halted his progress with a juicy thud. The breeze made a hissing sound as it ran through Dunespike's stickles as he clapped his paws happily.
And isn't this grand old way to be travelling? Sure, I've not had this much fun since I caught a jellyfish on my spikes. Come chug, sir! Will you out the anchor at lunchtime, or does eating on the move sound like a grand old idea to you?
Chugger gave Dunespike his captain's scowl. What a jellyfish is? The hedgehog chieftain caught him and tickled Chugger until he broke down laughing.
You're a jellyfish, you little Omador, my fat
wee jellyfish. Chugger rolled about, unable to escape.
Yo, help me, Mr. Four, help! I'm not a jellyfish, only a little chug. Help!
The honeysuckle did not stop for lunch. They kept on while the breezes favored progress. During the afternoon, the wind deserted the sails and the skiff rolled to an easy halt at the fringe of a copse. Gauss and Shrews discovered a small spring among the trees where the water was cool and sweet. Apples and pears and wild berries were plentiful. Lounging in the tree shade, the crew ate and drank their fill. Dunespike looked about admiringly.
Murpho, my son, does that place not look grand to you?
Oh, grand,
Grand, 'tis. And a whole lot better than living midst old sand dunes.
Oh, it would be, Dad, it would be so.
Sure, we've got fruit to pick from the bough and berries to gather as we please. What would you say to living here?
Oh, grand to be sure, Dad, grand. We'd want for nothing.
Dunespike cuffed his son's ear fondly.
Well spoken. Take 10 of the lads and start digging a good old cave beneath these trees. I'll send the rest back to the dune to the babies and the elders. Would that be all right with you, Martin of Redwall?
Martin was looking up at the sky and replied absently. Yes, of course it will, Chief, providing you show us where North Fork Stream lies.
Of course I will. What are you staring up at the sky for? Don't worry, it won't fall. It's been up there a long time.
Martin spoke to Dunespike, though he was looking at Gonf.
Birds are starting to fly south. The autumn has come.
The mouse thief watched until the birds were out of sight.
We must remember our word, mate. Time for us to fly home.
Following breakfast in the great hall of Redwall Abbey, all the creatures sat awaiting the allotment of daily chores. Bella, whose duty it was to apportion the work, was deep in conversation with Abbess Germain. Eager eyes watched the Badger Mother as Redwallers speculated on which way the roster would go for them.
Hope I'm helping Ferdy and Cogs in the cellars again.
Cellars are closed today. They've got to raise the weather vane on the south gable. I'm not going up there. You wouldn't be allowed up there, sir. Only squirrels be on a south gable to help with the vane.
Well, I hope I don't get picked as cook's helper again. They had me scrubbing pots all day last time.
All talk ceased instantly when Bella rapped the table.
Lady Amber and her squills will be assisting Ferdy and Cogs to raise the weather vane on top of the south gable.
Versi, just like I told ye.
Bella paused, looking in the direction of the interruption. There was a muffled giggle, followed by respectful silence. She waited a moment before continuing.
All other building work today will be suspended. Miglo, Mayberry, and Catkin, you are today's duty cooks.
The whiskery old bankful winked at both ottermaids, who wriggled and tittered excitingly, before realizing the importance of their position and sitting up primly. Bella nodded to the three Redwallers. Forget any cooking or baking for today. There's enough bread, scones, and pastries have been readied overnight. Concentrate on a cold buffet, salads, fruit cups, and such. Skipper will take watch on the battlements for signs of our returning travellers. Without exception, every other beast within our walls is to go to the storerooms for sacks and baskets. Columbine, will you and Girdle please see that ladders and sticks are available, please? Some of the elders began smiling and nudging one another, but the younger element looked puzzled. Abbess Germain allowed Bella to help her up onto the table, and then she waved her paws in the air and called out in a reedy quaver,
"And 'tis all to the orchard for fruit harvest."
Gleeful cheers greeted this announcement, followed by chaos. Redwallers dashed to the storerooms, where Columbine was issuing sacks and baskets as fast as she could. Form a line there. Don't push. There's plenty for all. Gauntlet, take that sack off your head. Girdle, will you see that all Dibbins are given berry tugs? Thank you. Passing out the small baskets to the little ones, the mole chuckled at their antics.
Them be baskets, not sandals. Take 'em off your foot paws.
Columbine was setting Abbess Germain down in a wheelbarrow full of soft moss, beneath the shade of a spreading horse chestnut tree. Both of them broke down, laughing at the sight of Bella leading the band of pickers in a harvest dance, singing as she went. Clutching Columbine's paw, the ancient abbess chuckled.
Oh, dearie me, and preserve me paws. It's like seeing a great boulder roll down a mountainside watching our Bella dance. Hee hee.
Columbine skipped aside as Bella hurtled by. Maybe so, but there's not even half Bella's age who can keep up with her. Winding its way through trees and around bushes, the merry dance went on, with every beast singing their hearts out. Now go, good son and daughter, haste to our orchard fair, and gather in the harvest which lies awaiting there. Ripe apples are falling to the ground, as pears so sweet and juicy are lying all around. Keep singing, pretty daughter, until the work is done, so you don't eat the berries and leave your mother none. Blackberries, ripe cherries, don't bruise or break them, miss, for sweetness can be lost like a faithless lover's kiss. The gooseberry and greengage are bittersweet, my son, and damson has a heartstone you'll find before you're done. Enchanting, enticing, like a wild grape on the vine, the maidens want to help you to let their paws entwine. So pick a berry, sing so merry, harvest time is here. Go skipping round our orchard, my son and daughter dear. Bella stood tall, reaching a high branch. She pulled it down to her face and sniffed deep.
Ah, not so sweet as the smell of good russet apple on the bough. I could sniff them all day.
Beneath her, a hogwife stood tapping her football, sack held wide open and waiting.
Beg pardon, Miss Bell, but could you leave your sniffing and start shaking afore it gets dark?
Oops, silly old me, sorry. The badger gave the bough a mighty shake, releasing ripe russets in a shower. When she looked down, the hogwife was still tapping her footballs, 2 apples impaled on her head spikes, and another 2 on her back.
Miss Bell, ma'am, 'twould be a helping if you shook 'em into the sack.
Columbine and Germain were picking red currants, and Abbess keeping a curious eye on Gauntlet.
My dear, what is that little son of yours up to? He's supposed to be gathering raspberries, isn't he?
Columbine could not help smiling as she watched the little mouse. He would fill both his smock pants with fruit, take a furtive glance left and right, then scurry off to empty his load into a trug hidden beneath the berry hedge. Just like his father, a real mouse thief. He's not happy unless he thinks he's stealing something, Mother Abbess. I'll have to turn him upside down and shake him before he goes to bed tonight. Otherwise, there'll be raspberries squashed around the dormitory for the rest of the season. Little pickle. He's a good worker, though. The harvesting was going well, moles trundling off to the storerooms with laden trolleys as the fruit was picked and basketed or bagged up. At midday, the cooks borrowed 3 trolleys to bring lunch for the pickers. Mayberry and Catkin repulsed any advances on the food with frosty glances and severe words.
Not a single bite until you've washed at the pond. Gracious me, look at those sticky paws. Away with you!
Miglo gave them a whispery grin.
That's the stuff, missus, you tell 'em. Go on, you're the cooks, 'tis up to you.
Emboldened, the otter maid spared no beast from censure.
Miss Bella, you've been picking apples with your nose. You can't just go and wash your face. This instant. Shame on you, Mother Abbess. 'Tis up to you to set an example. Look at the red currant juice, tip to tail to ears. Girdle, help her go get washed, please.
Columbine's giggles were cut short as they turned their attentions upon her.
'Tis no laughing matter, Miss Columbine. Shame on you. Aye, woe upon yourself if and Mr. Gonf was to see you now. Would inspect those paws after you've washed them.
It was a simple and satisfying lunch which had been prepared for the harvesters. Sliced apples, cheese, and fresh crusty bread, with new cider or cold mint tea to sip, and strawberries and meadow cream for dessert. Columbine sat beneath the chestnut tree with her friends, still shaking her head and smiling over the bossy cooks. Honestly, I've just felt like a naughty Dibbin the way these two young snips ordered me off to the pond. The abbess sandwiched a wedge of cheese with bread.
Me too, bless their hearts. They meant well, though.
Bella snorted.
Meant well? The little tyrants. They sent me back to the pond twice to wash my snout properly.
Miglo had been eavesdropping, and he called across them.
Aye, but they're a credit to old Skipper, that they are.
Suddenly, every beast started with a fright as a loud cry rent the air. Redwall! Bella was on her paws in a flash, pointing upward.
Look, they've raised the weather vane on the south gable.
Every beast in the orchard raised their paws and returned the shout to the tiny figures high up on the abbey building. Redwall! Cheering broke out as the Squirrel Queen, Lady Amber, stood out, balancing on the cross pieces of the iron vane, swaying as a light breeze turned its metal arrow top spike. Ferdy and Cogs clung to the north and south struts, waving jubilantly to their friends below. As Columbine gazed up at the completed south wall, she hugged the abbess.
Oh, they've done it, Mother Abbess! Isn't it beautiful?
Germaine looked for as long as she could, then shut her eyes tight to stem the tears.
At last, my Redwall Abbey. I never thought I'd live to see the dream become reality.
Bella picked the abbess up as though she weighed nothing, sitting the ancient mouse upon her shoulder to allow her a better view. While Germaine was up there, Bella took advantage of the robe hem to wipe her own eyes.
3 cheers for Redwall Abbey! May it stand as long as seasons change and the sun rises, my friends.
Never were their cheers raised so joyously.
Hurrah! Hurrah! Hurrah!
And that is where we'll end this chapter. Thank you so much for joining me. I do hope you'll tune in again next time for the next chapter and the one after that as well. If you'd like to check out the rest of the channel, feel free to do so. Hopefully we'll get some more projects going pretty soon. But either way, have a wonderful week. I'll see you next time. Stay safe. Be well. Bye-bye.